What's up, Webs?
Hello?
Hello?
Nothing.
Oh, I
Oh, I
got
got
it's
it's
so
so
bad.
bad.
All right, hold fast, hold fast, hold fast. Let's see.
Oh my
Oh my
god, I'm
god, I'm
stuck in
stuck
an
in an
echo
echo
chamber.
chamber.
Could be me, not you. Any better?
No, I'm getting echo of everything repeatedly now.
Oh wow, dude.
Like I just heard you say any better.
Any better? I don't know what is up with your side of the situation, Holmes. Oh my gosh.
Let me leave and come back.
All right. Slight technical difficulties. We'll figure it out, though. We'll figure it out. We always do. We always do. Always figure it out. Indeed, indeed. Oh, indeed, 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 indeed. Anyway, welcome to Hoodlum Culture. Half of the Teletv Hoodlums, Mike Lang here, and hopefully we're going to have Webbs back in a moment. Perhaps, maybe. Let's see. There she is. Let's see what pops up. Any better?
Okay, the duplicate echo is gone.
Okay.
Okay, we're good.
All right. Indeed, indeed. It's always fun on Thursdays when
just turn it off and turn it back on again. I mean, come on.
random weirdness pops off. It is what it is, though. Is what it is, my friend. Is what it is. Anyway, Webbs, it's Friday Eve once again. Thank the sweet baby Jesus twice. It's been a long week.
Indeed.
It's been a very long week. Yeah, it's been a week that has been interesting for all the things. For all the things, it's been interesting. So Webbs,
Our local district went back hybrid this week.
Sweet Jesus, and that's also been interesting. That I know will come up as a topic of conversation tonight. There will some that celebrate that. There'll be some of us who say, "Yeah, interessante," but we'll get there eventually. Now, tonight's show, Webbs, we're going to be talking a little bit about video and why perhaps people are going to shy away from it, unfortunately, because again, we're going back into classrooms. And I think that a lot of people are going to be like, hey, Webbs, why exactly do I need to worry about video anymore? Which could be problematic. So let's jump right into that question, Webbs. As a remote worker, you've had some experiences with hybrid, right? You've been the only remote person in a live meeting. Like, how does that work? What was your experience with that? Let's say that. What was your experience with that?
Oh boy. So I worked on a project where, yeah, I was one of a few people that would be remote on a cycle. So I would be on the client site for like a week and then be remote, 1 week, 2 weeks, it all depended. And so some of the common pitfalls, and mind you, these are among very technically capable professionals who work in the tech space. But I will live and die by this, that conference room technology can thwart anyone, no matter what their skill level. So my experience of being in that space was we would have stand up as we did when I would be in person. And often what would happen if I was the remote person is I would be, or if there were a couple of us that were remote, is that we would be essentially forgotten. It was a constant thing that came up in our retros, like, don't forget about the people who were on the call. And we did make adjustments. But eventually, habits would fall off. People would have to be reminded, et cetera, et cetera. So it made it really challenging, especially when we do whiteboarding from time to time, and trying to set up a computer that's like pointing its camera at a whiteboard, but even the best camera is going to really struggle to capture what someone's writing on a whiteboard. And then someone's trying to like explain a thing, but they're standing in front of it so you can't see. So then you have to be like, hey, I can't see. You're standing in front of the thing. Can you make it so I can see where the, and someone has to like move you around. When I was at ThoughtWorks, we had a robot. You could, I wish I had done this. I did not. But in the New York office, we had a robot. You could log into this robot and like cruise around the second floor of the office as this robot, like from that one show that my mom likes, The Big Bang Theory. I guess there's an episode where like Sheldon is a robot or something. Maybe it's Sheldon. I don't remember. Anyway, so yeah, being remote, being forgotten often, and I was guilty of it too. Like, I think it's a human thing. You know, you tend to give preference to the people who are right in front of you. And if something's not right in front of you, then you forget that it exists. Because even not on that particular project, but a different one, a lot of times we would have account meetings where, you know, 1, 2, 3 people are remote, and then everyone else is in this big conference room. And so it made it really frustrating because the folks that were remote would get left out a lot of the time, because on that account, we had a lot of travelers. And if our meetings were on Fridays, those travelers had already flown home. So even for folks who are skilled in embracing the hybrid model of things, and actually for that, we ended up breaking up our groups into several conference rooms across the floor so that it would make the focus on small groups watching the screen versus, you know, one big group interacting with each other. And then, oh yeah, that's right, there are those people online too. So I think even for professionals who have been in the space of hybrid and remote working for a little while, who are cognizant of technology, we're still human beings, and it's very easy to forget or to prioritize the people that are right in front of you. So it takes work, it takes effort to be able to like make that a better space. But it also means like on the benefit side of things, folks who you know, have to be home for extended periods of time, whether it's due to injury or illness, or my friend just had his appendix out, right? So I think that's one of those surgeries where like, yeah, you need to rest, and maybe you don't make the commute in on the train, or you can't fly to a certain site or whatever, but that doesn't mean you're like incapable of working. So this gives people that flexibility. I know when I was student teaching, I had a student who had gotten an infection from a broken arm and had to be on like IV antibiotics, and was like, had to be at home, you know, like it's just not an option to get your IV antibiotics from the school nurse. So he had to stay home. And I think about that kid all the time because he missed like 6 or 8 weeks of school. This is third grade. So you're missing a good chunk of your school year, right? 2 months out of 9, like almost 1/4 of your school year is gone because you broke your arm. And I feel like this model that we could potentially move to would have been really beneficial for him. The ability to like tune into the class stream, or sign on and get his work asynchronously would have crazy benefited him. And instead he just like didn't really get schooling for 8 weeks.
And well, again, that's just like we're like. Let me ask you a question. All right, so you did state there was this constant having to remind people in the space, hey, there are people who are not in this room. Now, you have been on the teacher side of things as well. The amount of the amount of things that a teacher is constantly in charge of facilitating. How reasonable is it, in your estimation, given your experience on both sides of this equation, that a teacher is going to be able to manage? We're not talking about 2 kids at home. We're talking about potentially 15 kids or 20 kids, or if it's at like our school, it's 10 in front, 10 watching, and some people are volunteering to do, I want cohort C too, because I want my kids to work. Like, that's a lot of management that you're dealing with, especially you said you prefaced your entire story with even the most technically astute people, excuse me, have struggled with this. If you're not someone who's technologically astute, and you still had to manage all these things, how successful would you predict that person being?
Not very. because not only is it a skills and attention thing, it's also access to resources. So two of the very beneficial resources that reduce the frustration for us were an owl camera. So it's a 360-degree camera that we could put in the middle of a group who is live, and you could see everybody in the picture on the Zoom. Those cameras are like $800. Like that, no classroom is going to get one of those. But it allowed us to see everyone, so we could read body expressions. We knew who is engaged. We knew who was talking. It also had a 360-degree microphone because it was like a souped up Jabra. And that's the other tool that we had that really helped, was we had a Jabra microphone, which is a really solid speakerphone that you can connect to your computer so that everyone speaking can be heard, and the people speaking out that are virtual can also be heard very easily. So not only do I think that it is, I'm going to say, outrageous to expect, and I've seen on social media people who are like, oh, it seems like that should be easier. And I get where they're coming from. I get where it's like, oh no, you're just teaching the same thing and some of the kids are virtual. But if you've been in a classroom and you've walked through like all the things that you do during a lesson, like, oh, I'm going to go over and use proximity to make sure this kid gets engaged again, or I'm fielding questions, or I'm modeling certain things. Like, you're automatically talking about trying to do that for two different mediums, and you're not being given the tools. Because, you know, another thing that would be really helpful would be a semi-decent camera so that you would have the ability to maybe like walk around or something. This is assuming you're not going a completely different route of like, hey, I'm going to break this up, which I feel like we'll get to later. But like, none of these resources are provided to teachers. And like I said, if you've been through what it's like to do a lesson in a classroom, the kind of questions that are asked, how you use your positioning in the classroom to make certain points more effective, you don't have any of that, because you're basically either confined to one particular space, or a situation where a kid in the class asks a question. Every kid should be able to hear that question. So do you repeat the question back? Hey, this is what Andre just said. Do you, and now you have to echo back every single thing every single kid says, because it's going to work the opposite way. If a kid online has a question, how do you know they have a question? Do they type it in chat? Are they not allowed to like raise their hand and ask a question out loud anymore? Like, thinking about it for just a few seconds, the idea that this is easier breaks down right away.
Absolutely. And so I'm 112% in agreement with that. The unfortunate thing is that I think a lot of things are easy when you don't have to do them. Like, it's very, theoretically we can solve world peace if, this is all you have to do. And, well, Bob, are you going to help broker the negotiations? Oh, no, I'm unavailable. I'm playing golf that week. Good luck. But I think the horrendous thing, or the most interesting thing about this, I call it horrendous. The most interesting thing about this is that one of the options is streaming. And when you start talking to people about streaming, you're like, all right, one of the things I've said, stream your Google Meets. So you're like, okay, cool. Now you're going to isolate this person online where they cannot communicate in real time with you. If they ask a question, again, given what you just said your experience was, out of sight, out of mind, essentially, right? You could be watching on the stream and I ain't paying attention to the stream because the stream is just there to stream. I can't hear your voice. I can't hear you say, I can't see anything or anything like that. So fundamentally, you are this spectator into the arena that is happening there, which is fine if you're watching a basketball game. But if you're supposed to be contributing to the broadcast there, it's kind of problematic. And there's also this thing called latency, right? So for you all who are watching this, there is a period of 25, 30, 45, maybe 60 seconds in which we are ahead of you in terms of a live conversation. And so now you have somebody who's 7 trying to jump in, but that moment they don't realize they're not watching actual live stream. It's quasi live. We're not actually in the same moment, but we're broadcasting at the same time. And so I think that's another like a very interesting thing that was not in any of the language or any of the brochures or the PDFs that were sent out. That latency was not discussed, but the actual live stream wasn't discussed. And I don't think that a lot of parents knew that one of the options would be live streaming. Go ahead, Webbs.
Also, I think that there's some irony, right? Because we've been pushing for years, like increasing engagement. Like that's one of the things I remember being assessed on was what level of engagement do your students have? And we've talked on this show about Schlechty's levels of engagement before. Engagement is important. So if you're automatically cutting off half the communication, how can you possibly expect a kid to stay engaged? Like that's outrageous to me. Not only that, but I really feel like this creates a completely inequitable education environment for those schools where they're basically just saying, sorry, kids that are remote, you're on your own, figure it out. Like such an inequitable for all the preaching about equity and everything. And then you're just going to say, you're not playing by our rules. We want you back in person because, in person works so well for everybody that, we're going to make it as horrible of an experience as possible so that you just come back to face to face. Can you put that on the screen? Is it inappropriate to put that on the screen?
I mean, why? Why not? That's from the Teach. I 100% agree with you, Teach. I agree with you 100%. So kind of to deal with what we're dealing with, like Webbs, we go to first topic, Matthew 6:24. If you're somebody who does not read the Bible on a regular basis, I love people I love using the Bible to kind of to illustrate certain things. So Matthew 6:24 essentially says you can't serve two masters. And at this point, you're going to love one or hate the other, or hate the one and love the other. That's that. You got to pick a side. And I think at this point, the confusion that I have is the term hybrid. Because again, I don't think hybrid exists. It doesn't happen. It's not something that works. It's either you are going to say everyone has the same equitable access to the resources, and you're going to create an environment in which that happens, or that's not true. It's either one or the other. And kind of in terms of what the topic of the show, Webbs, I think you keep everything asynchronous. If it's not asynchronous, it's not fair. And I think asynchronicity is the term. On-demand learning is the term for the rest of the existence of school. And if that's not the term for the rest of the existence to ad infinitum, then we have not learned from the moment that we just mostly braved, right? So if you're going to tell me that after decades and decades and decades of in-person teaching and failure and failure and failure and failure, this is the solution, then you don't need to call yourself an educational institution.
I'm going to bring this back up again. And I said a while back, like the reason I can tell that we are not actually interested in solving this problem is because we've looked at no other alternatives. We haven't looked at ways that we can improve remote learning. We haven't looked at resources we can provide to teachers. What we have done is say, nope, we need to go back face to face. That's the only solution to all these problems. Mental health issues, feeling isolated, kids that have low GPAs that aren't turning their work on time. Our only solution is that we must get back face to face. So you're not really looking to solve the problem of how to make education better. You have whatever it is, you have some ulterior motive. Because if you really genuinely wanted to solve this problem, you would look at how to iterate and improve on distance learning and provide people with the resources they need, not just complain about how we need to get back to a broken system that didn't work for everybody in the first place. I'm feeling feisty today, so anybody who's not ready for that.
It is what it is. I mean, I'm straight up and down the thing. So the reason why this came up and this show came up and why this show was timely is because of I am tired of asking permission to do stuff. And I'm tired of leaders who ask for permission to do things. Like if something is wrong, let's fix it. Right? Let's don't go to committee and say, what can we do to fix? Nah, screw y'all. We're going to do this. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, we're no worse off than what we were before. Again, if you look at the data, there were kids that were not reading when we were back and that's what we had to do. Read by 3 and all these other programs and stuff to try to get. Those weren't byproducts of COVID. Those were pre-COVID issues. Those are decades upon decades of data. So it wasn't like COVID. And if someone else says something about COVID loss again, right? If someone uses the term COVID loss rather, in order to again force people into 4 square walls in which one person now dictates what these little tiny geniuses are asked to do, and when they don't do exactly what the dictator says, it's you get an F. If that is the model that we're going back to, again, we have learned absolutely positively nothing. I've told Webbs this multiple times. I have 2 students at our school that have come to me. One has over 600 TikTok followers. The other one has 1,000. Now, I don't think those kids lost anything over the pandemic in terms of skills. I think they gained some skills. They would have never had the opportunity to do TikToks in school. Ever. When I went to one of the students and said, look, yo, is your teacher, can you turn in the TikToks for your assignments? I never thought about that. Like, dude, go TikTok the assignments and turn them in. When being creative is not an option in order to display one's intelligence, which, again, the pandemic allowed people to sit. There are teachers that have skills they would never have developed had we had to go to school face-to-face over and over, because there would have been no need to develop them, Webbs, at all. They would have sat there and said, this is the way I do my job, this is the way I do my job, this is the way I do my job. And yeah, if you presented them with the opportunity to go and do video creation, do website development, I'm good. My job is going to stay the same. There are teachers who are otherwise not skilled in these areas who now in the last year have become people who are forces to be reckoned with technology, and to force them back into this box is also disrespectful of that.
Speaking of TikTok, and I want to add to that like entropy and change can be frustrating, but if you're not a little bit uncomfortable, are you really growing at all, or are you just like settled into where you were? I was watching a TikTok, which there is tons of great content on TikTok, like amazingly great. There are like certified psychologists and therapists that offer like little tidbits and nuggets. But I saw one from a teacher because, of course, I ended up on teacher TikTok. Like that was kind of inevitable. But there was a teacher who was talking about how she had figured out how to make backgrounds like you're seeing in our stream right now, and how to feed that through OBS and be able to stay on screen while sharing her screen with her students. And that was really powerful to her, because it's like, okay, now they can still see me, and like I'm a person that they can see. And I've mentioned this before, that when you're creating content, in order to connect with your audience, them being able to see you is very important, because it builds a trust between the learner and the teacher. I learned that when I was working at Aristocrat. Shout out. They were a great place to work. And so this is like this aha moment for her. And then she's like, wait a minute, did I just become a streamer? And it's like, I've seen the joke going around about how like 2-3 years ago, teachers were like, you could never make a career on YouTube. You can't make money being a streamer. And now teachers are streamers, and they're on YouTube and making videos and all kinds of things. Like, there are people watching this right now. Clearly, that's where you spend your time. Why would you not apply that to your students? Like, on-demand education is TikTok, it's YouTube, it's anything they can get their hands on, because the internet is a thing.
But that goes against the paradigm, though, right? Again, as I said the previous show, as I will say until I am dead in the grave, teachers don't exist anymore. It's not a profession. It's not something that's done. I think there are people who are architects. There are people who are curriculum designers. There are people. I look at myself as a travel companion, not someone who is standing in front of you saying, you will do this, you will do that, you will do. Because first of all, no one wants to hear my voice barking orders at them about some stuff that they might not even be interested in. But if you allow somebody to go and say, this is generally what we need to be able to demonstrate, how can we get to this level of demonstration? Or I know you well enough that you're going to be really interested in this thing, because we've spoken, we watched manga together, or watched anime together, we read manga together, you told me that you love G.I. Joes or whatever. Great, I can develop a product which is going to suck you in, and suddenly we're good. but it's not a scenario in which I'm going to stand like, I had some great teachers when I was a kid, but I had some teachers that just stood up and talked for an hour and a half. Brain goes off. All right, B, I'm good. Like, okay. If I get to your work, I'll get to it. If I don't, what you gonna do? Give me an F? Yep. Why do I care? I was an introverted kid, so I didn't, generally rock the boat. But in the grand scheme of things, that method of education, that era is dead. If I can get on the internet and find that same, like, the other thing is to I'm a big fan of the Outer Limits. I don't know if anybody else has watched the Outer Limit, the old Outer Limit show. One of my favorite shows. I love New Year's when they do the Outer Limit marathon, and I stay up all night watching them and stuff. There's a very famous one with Burgess Meredith called "The Obsolete Man," and it's a really really cool episode in which it's like a communist dictatorship, and one of the ways that they get at people is like the Salem witch trials. They call somebody's job obsolete. You're obsolete. You're obsolete. And so the obsolete people are sentenced to death and banished and stuff because we don't need you anymore, right? And so I'm not going to spoil the story because the episode is amazing. Go The Obsolete Man, Outer Limits. Got to watch it anyway. There's a level in which, like, once you understand you're obsolete, there's a freedom there. There's a reinvention that can happen. But when you start to say that this is the only way things can be done, there's a slavery to that idea that's not healthy, right? When you say this can't evolve any further than what I'm taking it, that suddenly becomes an impediment not only to yourself, but if you're a teacher or educator or instructor, it becomes an impediment to your students too. This is the only way to be successful. Well, where is that true? Tell me in any facet of your life, there's only one way you can do something and everyone has to do it this one way. I mean, that's not true. It's like fundamentally, as educators in education, we have said there's one ring. This is the one ring, and we will go to Mordor with this one ring rather than saying, there are tons of different ways to be successful, and everybody's not successful in the same way, and everyone's not successful in the same way at the same time. So how do we make the system more agreeable to the fact that human beings are different people? I don't know. Now, that being the case, the whole idea here is video creation, whether you're streaming, whether you're recording your lessons, whether you're screen sharing, whether whatever, those skills are marketable skills that will help you not only now, but next school year, the school year after that, the school year after that, the school year after that. If you got stuff recorded, I just had somebody who took my PDE class reach out to me. He was like, hey, can I get those videos? I will make them available to you, fam. Why? Because the videos, I can watch them over and over and over and over and over and over. I don't have to read anything. I can use my eyes and I can see it's going from that point to that point. Okay, cool. You said, as I'm hearing, push the red button in the corner. I see the red button in the corner. I push it. We're good. We continue, right? If you if the only way you expect somebody to be literate is through the written word, then again, we're not being respectful of our users' web.
Also, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, I think video is worth 1,000,000, because not only does video give you, hey, this is exactly what you should be looking at, but it takes you from point A to point B. It's not just a still image. I have a story around this. So we have, I think I've mentioned this before, we have this channel for work where other teams can say, hey, we need your team's help. Can you help us out? And we had tried a number of ways of communicating all the different things around how to use that channel, like what questions help us solve their problems, what hours are we available to answer questions in that channel, about how long will it take us to get back to you, that kind of a thing. And so we had shared it as a repeated message written in words. We had shared it as a pinned message. We had announced it at meetings. And for some reason, it just wasn't like making an impact. And so we revisited the best way to go about kind of relaunching that. And my idea was that, what if we made a PSA? What if this is like a notoriously like way of communicating, right? And so I said, what if we made a little PSA that just covered the basics in a minute or two, so that it wasn't a long watch, but it'd be really easy to go back, zoom through, whatever. So I did that. I made a little video. It's a pretty good video too, by the way. But I even did little memojis with me and my coworker. It was great. And it was really fun. And I love making those videos. I loved it when I was a classroom teacher. I loved it when I was a humanities specialist. Even when I was working as an instructional designer at Aristocrat, I loved making little videos. I have a couple of them saved that I go back and rewatch because I think they're funny. But anyway, so I made this video and it was really funny because not long after that, someone reshared a screenshot from the video that had like the important questions, but it was very much more like graphic, visual. It had our little cartoon faces on it. And it told me like, oh, this is actually sticking more than it did before, like because people are resharing this. And that's because it was a video. You know, you heard people's voices. You had the ability to add closed captioning if you needed it. There are lots of folks I work with that are English learners. And we happen to communicate in English most of the time, but that's not the only language that's spoken at the place where I work. It's not the only, and not everyone is a English first primary English speaker. I don't know what the term is for that, but anyway, so it makes it much more accessible, you know, and we know for a fact that your auditory capabilities, your ability to process audio information is going to come before your ability to read the written word. So it makes it so much more accessible to other people and memorable. Because like I said, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000,000. So it just made more of an impact. And it was a much sexier way of sharing the information. So it stuck. That's not surprising. Like that's why PSAs are a thing.
Facts.
Commercials, jingles. Like there's a reason. I don't understand why we take the things that we know stick in people's brains, right? Like marketing is a huge, huge piece of our economy.
That's cheating.
Oh my God.
That is the reason. It is cheating, right? And everyone must read, and it must look like this. And you must read at the same time as everybody else is reading. And you're gonna say this at the same time. Rather than saying, again, the internet was not a thing in 1930, fam. It wasn't a thing. But it is now. And I can read books with my ears. Audiobooks, they exist. And it's still reading because I'm still getting the information. And I'm hearing people's people's voices are pronouncing the word. So if I saw the word, I would be able to say them. It's magic. We have screen readers, even for people who can't have eyes. It'll read all the stuff that's on the page. So even if the article is above my grade level, I can still get the information. Oh my God, it's amazing. Because again, literacy comes from literatus, which means to know, not to read, right? I know something. And there's a lot of ways we can know things. So it's it's patently false to say that the only way I can learn something is to read it. I am not saying that reading is not a skill we should help kids develop. I'm not saying that at all. I am simply saying that you should not keep information from somebody because they can't read. Because that would be silly. And there's no reason to do that. Now, as I'm progressing through the reading, I can take these other tools and still get the same information everyone else is getting as you're helping me read in the mechanical way that my brain has to be taught to read. But I think we get stuck on this, you can't mechanically read. Your brain's not processing words. And what if I'm dyslexic? What if I have any number of problems and disabilities that cover? Reading is not a natural thing, right? People act like this is oh yeah, you're just born with the ability to read. No, we are forcing something artificial into your brain in order for you to be able to understand the world around you in some sense. Go ahead, Web.
Also, isn't it a much more powerful thing for kids to recognize what is their best mode of learning versus forcing them into, you must learn this particular way by reading words on a page. And if you need any of these other things, that's cheating. Like it would be much more, because we have this conversation. I have this conversation with my coworkers all the time. Like or I see it on Twitter a lot too. What's your favorite way to take in information? Are you most likely to read an article, watch a video, listen to a podcast? Like what is your preferred way of taking in information? I feel like that's a much more powerful thing to learn and know than I can't read the words on this page that are at grade level, therefore I'm a failure. Also, what are we doing to self-esteem? You want to talk mental health? Like, what is it doing to kids' mental health that you're constantly reinforcing that they're not smart?
Well, I mean, I think as a teacher, your job is to make sure they sample everything in the buffet, right? So, a little bit of mechanical reading, a little bit of podcast, a little bit of video, a little bit of infographic, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Cool. Now I've tasted all these things. You know what, Mr. Lang? This one's okay, but I really like this one. This one's okay, and I really like this one. I mean, think gamers. If you play games, right? There are certain boards on games where you can go and you can do whatever you want. And certain games, if you beat that boss, you gotta understand how to do certain things. I think there are boss battles sometimes in which, you know what, Bob, you've been cutting videos and doing podcast and stuff, but yeah, you gotta read a little bit, B. We're gonna throw a little bit of that mechanical reading on this thing, and I'm gonna work with you, but you gotta be able to mechanically read too. Because what happens when you reach that teacher that's like, no, we do not do podcasts in the classroom. We don't. The only way we learn information is from the. Eventually, you're gonna see that person, and when you see that person, you're not gonna be successful because that person is saying the only way we can do it is if you can physically read the pages off the book. Which, what is that reading disorder that you said is really, really, like, I had never heard of it before. You like referred to it a couple times. I totally forgot what that thing is. And I was like, word, like, I'd never heard of this term before. And it is like a popular reading disorder. And so I was like, all right, this is really kind of crazy that I am an instructor and I had no idea this thing existed. And as she looks that up, again, I think that I'm going to start using that video. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, video is worth 1,000,000. I like that. I'm going to still, I'll give you the hashtag credit for it, but you know.
Aphantasia and oh, wait a minute. There we go. Aphantasia.
And was it? What was it? What is it?
Aphantasia is an inability to make pictures in your head.
Yeah.
So like a lot of teachers rely on this this analogy of reading. When you're reading a book, you just have to make a movie in your head. Some people literally are not capable of doing that. I think my roommate's pretty sure he cannot do that because we were talking about it one day and he said he can't like if you say picture an apple, he can think about like there are red apples and green apples and make like a word web, but he can't picture what an apple looks like in his head. So like that, I don't know how many people that impacts, but think about how many kids you've told just make a movie in your head. They get frustrated. You don't know why. And I'm finding that there are like, people are way more like neurodivergent than, I don't know why I did quotes around that because it's an actual word, but like people are way more neurodivergent than we realize or give them credit for. I feel like the ideal student that actually does get air quotes, that would be successful going through school, in the manner that we kind of come to expect, I guess, you know, a student who is on grade level, who is a strong reader, who can do math, blah, blah, blah. I feel like that's actually a very narrow number of students. Because also, like, the thing I've been thinking about lately is, like, why don't we emphasize science more? Because, like, in Clark County, the required number of science minutes a day is 30 minutes, but math is, like, 110 or something. Or 90, 80? No. I don't know. It's a lot more anyways.
It's not, I believe it's 90 minutes a day. But functionally, the reason why we don't teach science is because school is a made-up artificial place that doesn't really exist, right? So,
well, yeah, but I'm just saying.
ELA, like, right? ELA. What is ELA? What does that mean? It's not a thing. We made that stuff up so we can teach people how to read. Okay, now, phonics, phonemic awareness. Again, I'm not hating on reading. I read a lot. I like reading. Reading is stuff. Sylvia Lang, if she's listening to this at some point, we could not watch television during the week. We had to read stuff. We can only watch TV on Friday nights. I hated her at the time. I appreciated appreciated that she did that for us. But again, as I've walked through this journey, this is year 17 now. 17 in 3 different countries, all different parts of our country, talking to different kids and stuff. I have yet to be convinced that if you didn't make the backbone of K-5 education, social studies and science, and brought in the mathematics and brought in the phonemics awareness and all the reading strategies, that kids would not be more successful than what they currently are. It's the same reason why I do not believe a teaching degree should be an undergraduate pursuit. No, learn some real stuff first and then teach the stuff. But if you have an undergraduate degree in education, what functionally does that mean?
All the best teachers I know are either have like undergraduate degrees in completely different fields, or are people who come from other professions. Not everybody who comes from other professions, but a lot of them who come from other professions.
I think there are good teachers who have undergraduate degrees in education. I just think that.
Oh yeah, I just think that I don't think that's the majority in my experience anyway.
I just don't think you have anything to graft things to. If you got an undergraduate degree in education and then you got a master's degree in education, and you're like, okay.
Like my undergraduate degree, there was no education. You went through the College of Education, but you had to pick a major and a minor or 3 minors, and that's what you focused on. So like mine was English language arts. So, you know, thanks for trashing my major, but whatever.
Keep it 100, man.
English language arts, and my minor was bilingual education Spanish. So like there was, and I think too, shout out to my alma mater, Eastern Michigan University, because one of the things I think their program did really well, I don't know what it's like now, I'm hoping it would only improve, but you had to take everything. Like I had to take, there was no waivers. You had to take multiple math. You had to take geology, chemistry, biology. We had to take art. We had to take music. We had to be able to teach all the specials, art, music, PE. You had to take a double sequence of American history, a double sequence of world history. Like you had all, and then a bunch of different electives and whatever. Like there was no just, you learn education and that's it. My education classes were actually like a very small portion. Like improvisation was one of the classes I took. That was actually a very helpful class.
They needed to, and if you're going to keep the colleges of ed, everybody has to do a study abroad. Like, no, you go someplace else. And like you.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Understand.
Also, hiatus. Hiatus would be great. If teachers could have like what do you call those? Not hiatus. What do you call it when somebody's been around for a long time and then they get to take a year and go do a thing? Somebody help me, please.
Year off, leave of absence. I don't know. I don't know what the actual.
I'll think of it.
You know the actual term. Help webs out.
Seriously, my words today are so bad. I mean, it's probably some combination of like a health issue combined with I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. But forgive me. I'll think it's not hiatus. My brain's usually good about
hiatus is leaving something. So I mean, hiatus.
No, but it's a hold on. I'll look it up.
Okay.
See, because the internet's a thing.
Indeed. And when you don't know things, you don't have to lie about them. You just look them up. Why she's looking that up? Video is king is the second topic here, Webs. Why are you looking that up?
Sabbatical. It's called a sabbatical.
I knew the word sabbatical. I didn't know it applied.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Like, also, I find it super fascinating how our brains, like, connect certain things. Like, I don't know about you, but I get this feeling when I'm close to the idea that I want. Like, I'll notice my brain will start, like, if I know it starts with a J, I'll start to pick out, like, all the J words that are kind of related. Like, my brain thinks it starts with a P. That's all I got.
When I need to think of something, Chuck Yeager pops in my head, literally. It's like, he, like, points me to stuff. It's like this, like, weird, my conscience is an old white dude. It's hilarious. But it is what it is. Now, in terms of how everything rolls, we're just gonna look at the fact that again, the whole if pictures is worth 1,000 words, then being his video is worth 1,000,000. There is no way you are going to be able to serve both the kids that are looking in on your class and the kids that physically in that room, especially if you are with littles, right? Your K1 friends are probably not going to cooperate. The kindergartners, this is their first time in school. They're probably not going to sit there and be quiet. They're not going to be perfect little angels and stuff. That's why I like kindergartners, because they're still cats, right? They don't care nothing about you, what you tell them to do and stuff. And we breed that out of them for some reason. I like that about the kindergartners. They run around and pull their pants down and yell at people. You're like, hey, hey, this person is still as Descartes says, where he says the noble savages, the idea of noble savages was at Rousseau. Anyway, the bandwidth issues that in our locale cripple a lot of the streaming and stuff like that, problematic. Technical acumen, problematic. I know that Clark County did give people cameras, little webcams, with 25-foot USB cords to put places and stuff. I mean,
Are you serious?
it's a thing, I guess. But then you have to be mindful of where the camera is and where the camera isn't. Pointing the camera at your whiteboard is probably still not going to work. They're not going to be able to read the whiteboard stuff, and then you're gonna have to flip it around and look at your like. It's to me, it's
Also,
far more.
internet. I heard of a couple schools that just straight up went down on Monday because they don't have the internet to be able to support that many people being online at the same time.
So if you start thinking asynchronously, Webs, and we say, take the Canvas, take the Google Classroom, take whatever you're doing, and continue the same thing you were doing before, and you just say, look, little kids that happen to be in front of me, you're going to do the same thing you was doing at home. I'm just going to be here to help you in real time. And my friends who are on the thing, I'm going to pop back and forth between the computer. What I'm going to do is schedule the times that you're going to be on. Instead of saying you're on all the time, no, you're not going to be on all the time, Bob. You're going to be on at 9:30. I'm going to leave my friends who are, I'm live, and I'm going to sit at the computer and I'm going to answer questions or whatever, or lead you through whatever we have to lead through. But instead of creating the situation where everyone is live, staggering it so that your own capacity isn't diminished. And there's got to be people, and I've already heard stories personally from individuals who are frustrated. This is day 4 of the hybrid situation for K5. They're talking about going back 5 days a week on April the 6th. I mean, it kind of ridiculous. Go ahead, Web, just like you would say something.
Yeah, we have this concept called core working hours on some teams I've been on, where basically like there is a core period of time that everyone will be available so that we can pair and work together and communicate. But outside of that time, it may be I'm working independently. I'm, maybe I have to schedule a meeting with you if we're going to chat about something, or I'm doing. And basically the idea is that by having core working hours, we're protecting our heads down development time and our ability to like push out code with working with each other. And I feel like this would kind of apply, right? So you would have like core virtual hours and core in face-to-face hours. And that would definitely save you from trying to bounce back. And because one of the things that depletes your energy reserves really quickly, especially working in this sort of hybrid or online virtual environment, is like constantly trying to respond to the things grabbing your attention, like email. I highly recommend check your email maybe once an hour and then close that tab, because otherwise you'll get ping, 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 ping. If you establish an expected pattern of my time to address the needs of my virtual students are this time to this time, that will significantly cut down on their frustration and yours, because they know, hey, I will be able to get in touch with you during this core time. Cool. Now I'm not going to have to send you an email wondering when I'm going to get in touch with you or whatever. Or you can say like, I will check my email for the virtual students at X time. So they know, hey, as long as I get an email in before that time, I'll be able to get my question answered. And I think that sets good precedent for like good working habits too. You can't expect I don't expect my coworkers to like drop everything they're doing and help me out. Okay, every now and then I do. But and they're very obliging. But it's important to set those boundaries. I think drawing boundaries, setting boundaries, and holding boundaries, and managing expectations is key to a skill that you need to have in the working world nowadays.
I think the other thing though is, again, I listen to a lot of rap music. People don't think rap teaches you stuff. It does. Teaches me a lot of stuff. A lot of my best teaching techniques I've learned from rappers. But like one of my favorite rappers of all time says, again, a genius is somebody who can build an empire from somebody else's hands. If you're dealing with quasi-literate students, I would say from second grade on up, you can pair an in-person student with a virtual student in a breakout room and have those kids work with one another. So the person who's in live is like, okay, cool. Hey, she just said X, Y, and Z. This is what we need to do. Here's the link, and I can walk you through things because I got a lot more of them in one of me. So one of the things I hate is this idea of hard work, right? Good. I'm not opposed to putting no hours in. Lord knows I put hours in. But if you are working hard and working wrong, you're not working right, right? You're sitting and bumping your head against the wall and saying, I'm working hard, I'm working hard. You've got a bunch of kids, especially, again, I said they're quasi-literate. Second graders can use the chat function. Our second graders use they're on Chromebooks now, copy and pasting links, able to use the record buttons, etc. Utilize those talents these students have so you can do less work. So if you needed to have a situation where you pulled small groups of live students or small groups of virtual students who are really in need of skills, then suddenly I know that my friends are out there in the world are still in those, and you can jump in the breakout groups in your Google Meet to make sure that people are doing what they need to do. The other thing is, don't take your work so seriously either. Like, I had a couple, teacher friends get all angry and stuff. They won't put their cameras on, and they're using emojis. Like, Luke, pick your battles, fam. Like,
90% of my coworkers don't have their cameras on at all during the day. I do not take that personally. I happen to like to have my camera on, so I choose to, but I don't like that. That would be so offensive if someone were to walk into a meeting and insist everyone had their cameras on. Like, adults would definitely take that offensively. And I'm going to guess that there are lots of adults who have gone to staff meetings and not put their cameras on when we were virtual, and they would be offended if someone were to demand that they have their camera on. Also, you reminded me that on one of the teams that I was on, we often would pair a virtual person with an in-person person because it made pairing a lot easier. Like, screen sharing is the best way because then you have a front row seat to whatever's happening on the screen and you're not like trying to look over another kid or whatever. It's like right there in front of you.
And you're talking about relationships now, right? This is a kid that I might not ever physically be in the same presence with, and now I know. So if we do go back face to face, I know Bob because Bob and I this is my partner the whole time. I was on B cohort, he was on A cohort. We talking about what kind of video games we like or whatever, and it gives a situation where if you want that familial kind of relationship, that bonding between colleagues, you gotta give some time for that to pop off. All right, which makes this whole like jumping into academics thing kind of silly. Like, it should be 2 or 3 weeks of just, we haven't seen each other at all. I don't know you. I've never seen you before. Let's go do some team building type stuff to make sure that everyone's comfortable in this space.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, you're starting all over again. That's why I thought this was kind of a foolish endeavor, because now, especially with the resorting of classes based on who's going to be in cohort A, B, and C, like, you're starting the school year all over again. I don't understand why you would want to throw that into the mix of when people were just getting comfortable with things. I'd also add building capacity. So this has been a discussion among my team, is like, I need to stretch certain muscles to be able to make sure that those muscles get stronger. And by muscles, I mean skills. So when you allow kids to work independently and guide each other, you're building capacity within your classroom so that they can function on their own, so that they can solve problems on their own. Like, we talk, productive struggle is a very hot topic right now. This would be an actual good opportunity to be like, see if you can solve that problem yourself. If you and your pair can't solve that problem, then shoot me an email, let me know, and we can work on it a little later. But give them some time to work it out.
Look for a YouTube video that explains it. Like, Mr. Lang should be the other thing that we need to embrace is that one of the strategies to life is there's 6 billion people that got internet information floating around the ether. Your teacher is not the only person that knows how to do stuff. And reinforcing that, because in any other context, those students would go to the internet. How to beat a board on a game. How to tie my shoes the right way. How to make slime. They will go right to YouTube and watch the video and say, okay, those are directions. But suddenly, when forced back into the artificial world that is school, I become this defenseless, helpless person that I don't know what 5 times 5 is, Mr. Lang. You better figure it out, fam, because that's how you got to get the number of boxes on this page. I don't know. How could we figure that out? You could type it inside the Omni box 5 times 5 and it's going to pop up. Yeah. Yeah.
I do that all the time.
And suddenly, like, not to say again that after repeated uses that you wouldn't memorize your multiplication tables, but right now I don't need you to go through. I just need the answer. Go ahead.
I have a hilarious realization I just had every morning. I make coffee, and I need to know how many grams of water I need to put in relation to my coffee. I make pour over, so I know that I need 16 times as much water by weight as grams of coffee. And every morning I say to the little robot on the counter, computer, what is, I don't know, 30 times 16? And every morning it says 30 times 16 is 480. 480? I think it's 480. And finally I was like, oh, I don't even need to ask anymore. I just know 30 times 16 is 480. If it's 33 times 16, then I'll probably do like 520 or something. But I've learned to estimate based on what the computer on the counter tells me. And I ask it. I don't sit there and
Yeah, I mean, because 1967, absolutely, you got to finger it. Right now, no, that's not the most efficient way to solve problems, fam. And again, not that you shouldn't learn your multiplication tables, because I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if I need an answer right now, you fiddling on your fingers is stopping the hustle from happening. So just put it in an omni box. Cool. Now 5 times 5, what did it say? 25. 5 times 5 is 25. I'm going to ask you that question tomorrow when you come to class. All right, suddenly we got this situation where, okay, this is a piece of information we need to. Abacus works too. Abacus. Abacus works too. All right, very quickly, we're getting run out of time. Tools for the toolbox very quickly, webs. And
so many.
There's just like 5 billion tools for the toolbox. All right, cool. I want that one is the one I want. All right, cool. So
email?
Yeah, I got my doggone email on my second monitor. There we go.
Second monitor problems.
Yeah, second monitor problems. All right, here we go. Now, in terms of this situation, my friends who are in Clark County, that's all that can be said. This tool has been in service for years. It should have been like the #1 tool that was used by the district to kind of like make sure that everyone knew what they were talking about. But they didn't do it. Now, I'm going to show you this because this is a tool you can start to play around with. Again, if you're a Clark County School District teacher, free 99. It is YouTube-like in that you can upload your own videos. There's not a library of videos like YouTube with other people's contents. But in order to keep your content clean so you don't have to worry about, the bikini model perhaps popping on your screen or anything like that, this is pretty nifty situation here. So
Vegas. So what's the difference? What's the difference between like this and YouTube? Like, why would I want to use this over YouTube? Or is it like a completely different purpose?
Same purpose. I would use this over YouTube again if you're talking about avoiding the idea of commercials and avoiding the ads and stuff like that. I found that to be kind of liberating. But the story around Classroom Cast and my rediscovery of Classroom Cast came out of necessity. It wasn't because of choice. So the specialist and I at our school were going to stream a specialist TV show. We essentially were going to build a TV show so that the specialists in the classrooms didn't have to take their mask off. They could just concentrate on classroom management and not teaching. And essentially, I would be the brain of the teaching situation. They would send me all their videos, and I would shoot those out as a television show. I was going to go through YouTube Live. Day of Monday, so Monday pops on. I'm testing it with the music teacher, and she's like, I can't see anything. Like, it's not working. I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? Like,
I just want to point out that you are very skilled at technology and you still have technology issues. And it's not that the technology issues completely thwart you. You've come to learn that when you're testing a new process, it's important to test it out early enough that you can pivot.
And also have familiarity enough with enough similar tools that you can say, oh, okay, this tool might work as well, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. Classroom Cast. Let me go and see if this will work. Now, this was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. It's a lot easier than YouTube is actually. So in terms of if YouTube intimidates you, Classroom Cast will not. And I'll show you why. Now, again.
Can teachers in Clark County look up your TV show?
They could look up during TV show. Then what I don't want you to do is look at our TV show and say, oh my God, that's really. I'm going to show you some of the show. I don't want you to look at the show and be like, oh my God, that's such a, I'm going to mute with this tab too. I want you to go in. Nah, I don't want you to try to duplicate what we're doing. That's not the point. The point is take it where you. That's the other cool thing about this not being on YouTube, right? There's not going to be this. Oh my goodness, I don't have the YouTube production skill to put it on YouTube. Here, you can build your own channel and all that kind of stuff, but I'm going to show you that in a second. So on the very front page, if you just go to vegaspbs.org/classroomcast, and we'll throw this stuff we'll put it on our social media and stuff later on. But that's the link. There are 2 PDFs over here on the right-hand side of the screen. How to upload and how to log in. So it gives you the PDFs that are there. If you need or have any problems, email or you can phone call, there's there. Now, every school has access to their own, essentially, TV station. Doesn't matter what school you're at, it exists, even if no one is using it. You can add lessons, homework, instructions, and blended learning and all that wonderful stuff. You can do all that stuff inside there. There are unlimited channels, unlimited users. You got quizzes, polls, and all that kind of wonderful stuff in there. You can password protect stuff, and you can also put hotspot links in there. But you don't have to do any of those things. You can just upload your video there if you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and log in very quickly. And it's just your AD credentials. So once you get your AD credentials, you'll see all this wonderful stuff. What we want is Classroom Cast. That's there. Once you push that in there, it'll take a second. Bada bing. Now, the cool thing about being a specialist is that you see all the kids in school. The interesting thing about being a specialist is that you see all the kids in the school. So we had to build programs for every last one of the kids. And you notice there are 30-minute plus programs that I'm streaming on a regular basis. Which again, don't get uber like, oh my God, you don't have to have 30-minute long programs. I'm going to show you a little bit of it. And I muted this already. So I've got a little timer that taps down just like our show does. And then we got a little intro of all our teachers and stuff like that. They pop in the thing. Again, you don't have to be fancy pants like that. Then I pop in and show everybody what's going on. Great. This is all of the stuff. And what you'll notice again is that you can put the live, you can live caption as well, which is also
accessibility.
Cool. So you can live caption if you need to. All right. And this is, I'm streaming and the captions come up automatically. All right. So as long as you put the captions on, they'll come up automatically as the person's talking. You can also have them, they can change the size of all the subtitles, and he hasn't put them on yet. The other thing we added was the live titles. Once the kid goes back and watches it, they can watch them translated into Spanish, Tagalog, whatever the languages of choice are at your campus. And you just need to tell Vegas PBS, yo, I want these languages to pop off. The other cool thing is this is every last show. All the shows we've done so far. All of them. And so a kid can go back conceivably and watch. If they wanted to watch the 3rd grade specials again, they could go back and watch them or whatever. Just all the shows we've done. This is just this week. So we're going to have like millions of shows about it in the school year. But it's fun and it's cool. All right. Now, you have somebody who is, when you pop everything up in here, you're going to have somebody who's the manager at your campus, but you don't need to worry about that. The first time you log in, you create your own channel. And you can create as many channels as you would like. The other thing about this that is extremely sexy is the following. You have this thing under asset management called Eduvision Capture. So watch what this does. I'm going to click this. And you know all that running around where we're like, hey, we want screen recorders or whatever. This thing has been sitting here the whole time. So if I want to do webcam, bada bing, this is my webcam, right built into the product. I want my desktop. I want both the screen and audio right there built into the product. All right, so I'm going to turn my webcam off. But I can go and add, oops. No, I thought I could turn my webcam on. Maybe I can't. Anyway.
I think you got to select something else. Select desktop or whatever.
Nah, it's just showing my desktop. It's all good. Here we go. Web's your genius. Now, you can go and just automatically add your own stuff in here. So I can put my own thumbnails and stuff in here really, really quickly. So if I want a thumbnail in there, I can throw it in there. Really, really, really slick and really, really easy type stuff. I choose my channel. Great. I want my automatic captions to be on there. I want Filipino, I want Spanish, and I want Swahili as well. So it'll get translated after I record. It'll get translated into those languages for me. I can put the title of my video, description of it, and I can do what I need to do. Now, that is mad convenient. And it's free. It's part of your situation. So, mad convenient. The other thing up here at the top is I can put associated documents. So if I had a PDF or something like that I want, I can add those files right onto this thing and say, here's the instructions for what you need to do. Here's the description. There's the title. And I can add more and more of these things on there. So I can put the whole thing there. So the kid, in theory, could watch all my videos with all the stuff in there, and you're good to go. So it's really, really super convenient. It's called Edu Capture. So Eduvision Capture right there at the top, teach. And I'm going to go back up here. So if you go up to the top, Edu Capture, under Asset Management, it's going to say Eduvision Capture. And again, it's built in. Every Clark County School District teacher has a channel. You just need to log in the first time, and it will populate.
I feel like we need to cut just this part of the show and make it its own video and share it all over the place.
I'm going to go and cut a walkthrough of the whole thing, because one of the things that really frustrated me when I rediscovered the tool was this could have saved a lot of people a lot of time at the beginning of the school year, because the other thing, Webs, is here. I'm going to go to manage my stream. So I've got recurring events inside here for every day. It's already just set up. It's already done. So it says Monday through Friday, it's going to start at 8:05. It's going to end at 8:50. Start, end, start, end, start, end, start, end, start, end. All I got to do is mash my button on my computer, and suddenly my stream starts. I got everything set up. The kids know where to go. They handle their business. It's a beautiful process. It's uber simple. If you want to get into the streaming game, just from our perspective, hit us up. I'll talk to you a little bit about what you need. It's not that difficult of a situation. The encoder, all the bit rate, everything is handled by the website. All you need to say is where you want to put the stuff, which is, if I click there, and this is why, again, I would take this over YouTube at this point. You're going to see all this stuff. Okay, whatever. This is that. All right, cool. I can embed this anywhere I want by generating that code and putting it in my website, put it in my Canvas course, whatever. All right, super cool. Does not take very much work at all. But that means I can take that and just going to stream to a website that can lock behind CCSD, so only the kids can go and watch it when they want to, which is super cool. So if I want to go and do this, I'm actually going to show you one of them because it's no kids on there. So let me go there. There's no kids here. Let's go during 4th. So I built websites just because it's easier to deal it. But this is where our kids come to do their work. You see right there. It's ended for the day. Tomorrow that will come back and it will count down for the kids. Once it gets under an hour, I believe, it'll count down all the way to 0. And the kids just press the button right there and they rock and roll. Game over. No issues. We're good. And if they have problems, the persistent player is there. Click. They can watch that there as well. And the thing is, if you miss specials, so what? There's a video of all the specials there. Go watch it when you feel like watching it, fam. There's no reason.
I feel like that's a big deal too. Like, all the kids get all the specials every day, right?
Yep. So we built the show where we've got a mindful minute. So our social emotional teacher gives them like a meditation or a breathing exercise or something they need to do. Then they go from right there to our PE teacher does a 5-minute workout routine with them. And then we have, like right now we're doing the Women's History Maker of the Day. And then we do, our science teacher gives us the weird science. He does a science experiment for every Thursday. And, the kids can watch the science experiment. We do the school song every day. I give them a technology minute most of the time of, hey, this is some cool stuff you can do with your computer or whatever. And then there's the main message. So whoever's special it is covers the bulk of the class. So a 20-minute lesson in which, if it's music, the music teacher goes and does her thing. If it's whatever class, they do their thing. It's really it's less work, and the kids get a little buffet, little piece, a little sample of all the stuff every day, and the kids really dig it because again, if I miss it, I didn't miss it. I can just go back and watch it when I feel like watching it. And
Also from the perspective of like we talk a lot about 1% better, right? From the perspective of 1% better and having that consistency, because I feel like the consistency is the most important part. It's so hard when you're a specialist, because I've been there, and you see a class once every 7 days, and then you spend half the class trying to remind them where they were before. If you have this like constant contact of they can watch this variety show, and even if you're not the focus of the day, like you're still touching base with them to keep up those skills, that's brilliant.
well, I mean, it was. I mean, it wasn't the main reason why we wanted to do it was we wanted to make sure that every teacher that went into the building, again, they didn't have to worry about taking their mask off. We were going to handle that for them, and not to say that it doesn't take a little bit of technical skill to pull this off, but it doesn't take as much as you would think. I think if you had the idea and the organization to do it, now no one is working as hard as they would work otherwise, which I think is the other thing. Like, hey, you cut your videos, you're going to cut your videos anyway. Instead of cutting your videos and teaching them independently, why not have them interwoven with other content? And one of the things I think we're working toward is I seen your videos, I seen your videos, I seen your videos, and somebody already said this. Oh man, I watched so and so's video. I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna do mine the same way she's doing hers. You don't get to see other teachers teach, but now you do because everyone you're watching it with the kids. You're like, that's a really great strategy that what that one teacher did. Let me go and steal that and parrot that and use it in my videos as well. That's really, really cool. So this is another way to get outside of your classroom without getting outside your classroom. Watching other people's other teachers teach things, you get ideas, and you're like, oh my god, that's really, really a cool thing, and the kids really like it. You're exposing yourself to different ideas, which I think is cool. So again, the classroom cast is one of the things. Flipgrid, and we've talked Flipgrid like 5 billion times. You got Flipgrid shorts. You've got ways to organize your videos, all that wonderful stuff. VidStep is one that I use all the time now for my Canvas courses. In that, if you notice here on the side, you can click through the videos. As soon as I finish a step, cool, I click it off. So for the free accounts are, you got a couple videos you can do, and that what they do that I like is that they limit you by videos by month. So you don't lose any videos. You just have to stop. And then the next month, your allotment pops up. So, but I do like this. Did I do the first step? Yep. Did I do the second step? Yep. Did I do the third step? Yep. And you kind of regulate yourself that way so that there is a visual marker to say that I finished certain things with the video. So I think that's a really cool thing as well. All right. And Teletv. Now, this one is real cool. It's still kind of interesting because it's not as developed. I think it has a lot of potential. This is essentially embedding video inside a video. It's really cool. There are some uploads. Sometimes I can't use it because the uploads take so doggone long. So it's really, really cool, though. And it's one that you should play around with. Just with the try it for free, you can take a video. You can essentially say, if I say the video is 25 minutes long, I want to jump to a certain step, or I want to send a kid to a certain website inside the video. You could do all those things very, very neatly and very easily. Polls, all kind of stuff like that. It's really cool. Buttons, all that wonderful stuff. SendSpark is another one, and this is kind of treating your kids like customers for real. Taking their email addresses and like dripping information to them. So this is something I've played with. We do this with our Saturday cohort people. This is generally how I shoot their TLDRs. But this is something I'm going to start to do with our kids too. With, hey, here's an email from Mr. Lang with a video that shows you how to do X, Y, and Z. So you don't necessarily have to go to Canvas. You will notice that if you start to think less like a teacher and more like an advertiser and a marketer, suddenly all these ideas that advertisers and marketers use, you'll be able to co-opt them for your own purposes. Loom, oldie but goodie. Again, totally free for teachers. There's teacher accounts. It's also totally free for students as well. So it's kind of dope to use. Your Spark, if you're a Clark County School District teacher, you have the full premium version of Spark for free. and there are videos, the ability to make videos inside here. It's called presentations. Oh, that's not called presentations. It's called slideshows. You'll see the little play button right there with the slideshow. And if you can build a Google slide deck, you can build a video inside of this as well. All right, and those are just like one things that get you started rather. Don't go into a scenario in which you're like, I'm suddenly going to try to master every last one of these things. So that's probably not the goods. Classroom cast, if I were you, is where I would start, just because the classroom cast is kind of, it's free, and I think you're gonna get the biggest bang for your buck. You probably also are not gonna have to worry about that when not getting through the filters and having issues and things like that. It's probably gonna be the easiest way to knock that stuff out. Webs.
I have been adding all of those things to a Wakelet.
Awesome sauce. All right, so I mean, in the grand scheme of things, video is going nowhere. If nothing else, this, I think, it's strengthened the idea that video is the king of all mediums. And if you allow your skills to become lax, you're going to be left behind, unfortunately, because again, you can be multiple places with video. You cannot be physically multiple places, unfortunately. So the video creation and those kind of skills that you've developed, continue to work on those. We're going to hopefully do kind of a part 2, because I think we need to do a show just on Classroom Cast Webs for our Clark County friends, just with here's how you would do this thing, and kind of taking that through and then perhaps distributing that a little bit more widely. But the Classroom Cast thing, I'm just like, I'm maybe 3 levels deep at Classroom Cast, and I'm already like, yeah, this has some potential to do some really funky things if you started to look at it in like crossways. So, yeah, man. Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah. We went so far over.
Indeed. But I mean, it was good. It was good stuff, man. It was good stuff. It was good stuff.
All right, It was.
Like, again, do not let those skills, if you don't use the skills, they will atrophy, and it's certainly, no worries, teach. They will atrophy, and you'll end up back in this the full wall conundrum that was education pre-COVID. A better way is possible. A better way is plausible. We're seeing that we can collaborate with people that are not in the rooms, on Zoom calls, in different time zones, all that kind of weird stuff. Go ahead, Webs.
Oh, I was just going to say, I saw this YouTube video a while back. I'll have to go find it. And one of the things that resonated with me was the guy talked about how your keystrokes are your most precious resource. And that's not really what he was saying. He was saying like your time essentially is your most precious resource. Hello, Taco Dog.
What up, Taco Dog?
And I really thought about that a lot, because whenever someone asks me a question and I feel like someone else might ask me that question again later, I write a blog post about it. And I found I recognize times when blog posts work, and I've used that now because I have gotten those questions again, and I just share the link to the blog post instead of doing a whole explanation and writing all out again. And I think video is the same way, like being able to just do a video walkthrough, even that, like we do virtual conferences, and we go through the same process of showing people how to access their accounts, showing people how to set their pictures and how to log in and how to get their tickets and how to access content. And by creating videos for that and being able to reshare those, it saves us a tremendous amount of time instead of having to redo it again every time or write out an explanation every time. So there really is something to this skill of being able to capture that information once and be able to reshare it over and over again.
Big facts, man. Big facts. All right. So we will see you Sunday with some more like interesting, like I'll be preparing for Monday's hybrid, so I know that it'll be something weird and strange that we want to deal with. But one of the things is, the other thing with video is it is storable. So if you noticed on my classroom class page, all that video is there. So if I needed to use it for instruction, take link, take embed code, place it where it belongs. God bless you, kid. You know, it's going to save you time in the long run, rather than, like you said before, Webs, either not just saving you keystrokes, saving you lesson plan time, right? That time you could be on Barbados chilling, once everything pops off, or if you feel you get your vaccines and you want to hop on a plane, you're not going to have anything to worry about. But if you leave May without this stuff kind of structured in a way that's going to make you successful in August, you're probably setting yourself up to be stressed out, because Lord knows we're not totally out the woods yet with this thing. There might be some hybridification of some kind of way to deal with stuff. Again, I think the best practice, Webs, and I don't know if you agree with me, is everything is on demand, fam. Build everything on demand, and don't worry about the hybrid at all.
I mean, YouTube is a multi-billion-dollar platform for a reason, because people want on-demand education and entertainment.
Facts.
Like, there's a reason that like nobody really watches shows when they come out again. Leave it to Apple to make that a new thing. But you know, we've gotten so used to on-demand content. It's recorded. We can watch it on an app, whatever. Like, why would education not move in the same direction? It just doesn't make any sense.
Because we moonwalkers, man.
Indeed. Taxi drivers.
Indeed. That's all we got for tonight, ladies and germs. We will catch you all when we catch you. Webs, anything else before we tell the people good nights?
Nope.
Do that thing. Peace in the Middle East. Peace to my people in Lesotho.
Bye, everybody.
Lesotho.